Okay, hello. Hi everyone. Good to see you. Can you hear? All right, can you hear? All right. All right. Okay, is my voice all right to everybody? All right. Is my voice all right?
It is audible, sir. It
Okay,
is
okay, all
audible.
right. It's audible. Okay, all right, great. So yeah, so welcome. I think people are still joining in. Okay. So let's wait a little bit because Zoom Zoom is when people join, Zoom may lag a little bit. Okay. So yeah. All right. So can everybody hear me all right? Okay. And you're welcome to open up your video, okay, if you like. It's encouraged. Okay. So I can also have a look at what you look like. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so welcome. We're on to the second week. Okay, this is the second weekly coaching call, mastermind coaching call for Ascender, Impact Accelerators, Create Unicorn. Okay, all right, sure. So, okay, so okay, so usually how we start is that we will ask people to share about your wins from the past week. Okay, this can be any kind of progress, any kind of learning, can be personal, professional, school, whatever. Okay, so just raise your hand, okay, if you like to share. All right, anyone? What I see Anil, is that right? Anil Ratho. If if you can share, then you can raise your hand or mute yourself. Okay. But by the way, okay, the coaching is supposed to be interactive. Okay, you will get the best from by participating. Okay, Sanya. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and
Hello,
share. Yeah. So,
hello,
what's
nice
your
to
win
meet
this
you.
past week?
Yeah. So, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. I can hear. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, is my voice clear now?
Oh yeah. Much better, much better. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead. What's your win this past week?
I think more than a win, I've learned a lot with the modules. I think one thing would be writing down my goals and writing down what I want to achieve in the future has really helped me a lot to kind of make it clear how I should go about it. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I have learned. I've also had like a big influx of ideas throughout the week, which I've been working on. And I've also like the co-found learning about the fact that you need a co-founder to start something is also helped me a lot because I could find someone who would be able to help me and be my partner through it. And so yeah, that's what I've learned. Yeah. So
Okay,
that's
excellent, excellent. Okay, thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Sanya, you are right on spot about the co-founder thing. Actually, YC, okay, which is the content we're basing from, they highly recommend co-founders. Okay, so if you're thinking of actually starting any kind of startup entrepreneurship, finding a co-founder, actually, I would say is extremely important. I have up to date, I think, 7 co-founders in my 3 existing businesses. Okay. And actually for Ascender itself, Ascender is also a startup. Okay, I'd like you guys to know that. We are also a startup of sorts, right? Because we're also starting up. And I have two more co-founders that are, doing this along with me in the Ascender Foundation. And they are also very experienced entrepreneurs. Okay. So, yeah. So, all right. So I saw there was one more hand that was raised, right? Would you like to unmute yourself and share what's your win this past? Is it Rohini? I think Rohini had your hand, right? I mean, would you like to share? Yeah, what's your
Hi,
win this past week?
hi,
Yeah,
sir.
go ahead. Yeah.
So this week, it's been more than a win actually. So one of my New Year resolution is to read many books. I ordered like a couple of books, and the first week it was very hard for me to like kickstart it because none of them were fiction. So of course you need to bring yourself started, but then I had like a couple of days vacation for a festival in India last week. So I made myself like sit down and started reading Steve Jobs' autobiography, and how he founded his company, his early days, the amount of hard work, everything, the behind the scenes of the company. It really made me like open a new set of thoughts in my brain. So definitely learned a lot through it, and I'm sure this is like a perfect start for me to read my books journey.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Actually, what's the definition of being young and old? Old is not age. Okay. You can be, 60, 70, 80 years old, but still be a young person if you are learning and grow. Okay. So I think reading is one of the best ways to really learn something. Okay. It's actually, especially books. Okay. This is something I like to also share with you guys. Books is a very condensed form of knowledge. Okay. It's much better than, let's say, blogs or, the videos, short ones you're looking at. So yeah, so you're reading Steve Jobs' bio. That's fantastic. One thing I like to, I don't know, so maybe some of you guys read, some of maybe you are, readers, but like for me, I listen a lot. Okay, right now, nowadays, because, I do have a pretty well-scheduled life. So a lot of my readings now are just audiobooks. I can also be on the walk, be on the commute. That's something I also recommend. Okay, so if if you are a audio person, that might also save you the time to, you can learn a lot while still doing other kind of things. Okay. All right. So thanks for the share. So I think today we are actually on to the second week. Okay. So for those of you who may be just joining in, we do have a webinar, right, that I hope you have all watched. If not, then highly recommend, because then you get a better idea of what the sender is. You guys are here as interns, okay, but this is actually a coaching, 3-month coaching to help you to build your own startups, okay, and become a entrepreneurs, okay. Ideally, we like to happen during this 3 months. Okay, so do be bold. Okay, a lot of interesting things could happen, and so be expected. And you will be learning about 10x mindset as well. So the course, again, uh, if you haven't already done, then this is the main thing. In terms of time, you only have to spend about 15 to 30 minutes a day on this, okay? So if you haven't signed up, make sure you have signed up for this and you are actually doing the, the modules on a daily basis. Just 15 to 30 minutes a day. And by the end of every week, there's actually a weekly assignment, okay? You have to do the assignment before you can actually unlock the module for next week. Okay, so if you don't do this, you're not going to get the new materials. And we have a total of 12 weeks program. I know some of you have already do everything. Okay, the completion rate is 100. Okay, there's a few of you has done that. But basically, if you want to get a certificate at the end of this, for those of you interested, you do have to finish all the modules in the course. Okay, that's just something I like you to know, including the videos and also the assignments. Okay, so that's that. So this week, and the coaching, basically, the weekly coaching is also very important because this is where we will actually ask you to think and journal some very thought-provoking questions. And that might help you to clarify and learn about 10x concepts, okay? And, and how we do this is we will ask prompts, okay? And then, I'll ask you guys to share with one another, do some peer sharing, and then we will come to the larger group to do some share. The last 30 minutes, okay, so with the share, we will also provide feedback, okay? The last 30 minutes of each coaching, weekly coaching, will be Q&A, okay? So that can be anything regarding the course material, regarding the course, or whatnot. If you have any questions, okay, we'll do the Q&A for the last 30 minutes, all right? So, okay, so any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, okay. So, all right. So I'll be asking some of the prompts for this week. The prompts actually are related, okay, are somewhat related to the, the content, the course content. Okay, so for example, this week's theme is actually, and by the way, you do want to sign up for Y Combinator Stop School, okay, which I think we explained in the warm-up. Okay, you can watch the warm-up and see that. It's actually about, so our last week is about deciding to do a startup, right? The main takeaway, I think, if I were to summarize in one sentence, is try to do it. Okay. A lot of people have a lot of reasons. They might have, the idea, the fantasy, the dream of maybe doing a startup one day, but they never start. Okay. My recommendation is, regardless of whether you will become an entrepreneur or not, or whether you think that's the right career for you or not, try to do a startup, as early as, during, especially this time, or at least sometime. It's going to be a really good journey for personal growth. Okay, because you're going to probably experience a lot more things, a lot more adversaries, a lot more failures, but also a lot more success and sense of achievement than, if you were just to take a salary job. Okay, so I think that's probably, we all have one life, right? I mean, some of you might believe in reincarnations, right? But like I'm actually, a student of Buddha. So definitely we see life, not just this one, but for, as far as we are concerned, we do only have this life and today that's at our disposal, right? So try to maximize that, right? Try to get the best value from your current life. I think that is something, worthwhile, right? So doing a startup, if you are, inclined to do that, that might be one of the best thing, the best approach. Okay. So for this week, actually, the idea is about how do you get the ideas, right? What should you do? What should be your topic? And YC talks about different criteria about how to evaluate. I'm not going to do that because you have the course. Okay. So another thing, before you come to the weekly coaching, you probably should at least finish the YC, to Thursday, right? Because each one is on a specific day. And but the I guess the basic idea is that they talk about some startup ideas are better than others. Okay, if they are difficult, okay, if it's a difficult, it's challenge. For example, like Google, when they were doing that, they were trying to make better search results, right? So it's actually not that easy to build a search engine, right? There is some technical know-how involved. So it's actually a difficult, it's a difficult process. So if it's difficult, But then there's also another criteria if it's boring, meaning that there are some quote unquote sexy startup ideas. Like right now, probably a lot of you are also into AIs, right? we actually recruit people. I can share with you guys the list here. Okay, this is actually interesting. The Internshala. You guys have probably got to our program through Internshala platform, right? So we have been running different campaigns. I'm sharing with you some of the stats here. Okay, so you can have some idea about kind of what the current trends are. Okay, you can see that out of the different themes, actually AI has the best resonance with people, right? So AI is obviously like the latest campaign we have here. Actually, out of the 12,000 people look at, there's already 300 plus applicants. Okay, this is our latest batch. So, AI definitely is something that's highly attractive to people's attention. So that might be, if you're doing some AI startup, that might be the sexy thing for now. Okay. But, sorry, okay. But for sometimes the important thing may not be that sexy. It may not catch a lot of people's attention. For example, like if your idea were to help accountants, right, do better accounting, or maybe your father, I'll give an example, maybe your father is a farmer, right? So maybe there is some challenge involved in terms of how to actually do sales of your produce, or maybe plan for your farm. That may not be a sexy or something that a lot of people are looking at, but oftentimes that could be something actually, if you dig deep and actually solve the problem, you could create tremendous value. Okay, so another is being bored. And the third is what's called crowded. Okay, this is another criteria because if there are already other existing players or quote unquote competitors that are in the space, that might mean this is actually a good idea to go for, meaning that the market has matured to a certain degree. Okay, so there are different criteria. So today's first question is, which aspect does your current idea is most aligned with? Okay, I hope every one of you has already some startup ideas that's in your mind, right? And if not, then maybe some project that you like to do. Okay, so I'll give everybody just 60 seconds to journal down on this. All right. Okay. So the first question is, what's which aspect does your current idea most align with? Is it difficult? Is it a boring idea? Is it in a crowded space? Okay. So is everybody clear about the question?
Yes, sir.
Is there Okay, okay, all right. If you have any questions, can feel free to ask. All right, so 60 seconds, and I'll allow you to journal down. Okay, just write down your answers. All right, let's start. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So let's go to the second question. Okay. So there's another concept. There's other evaluating criteria that YC talks about, which is whether your idea potentially can become a very large market. Okay, meaning that, for example, potentially it can be $1 billion business. Okay, there are different problems. Now, I actually have been learning with a very experienced, serial entrepreneur, Sarah Mana. Okay, so she's actually from India. Okay, she studied her PhD at MIT, did not finish it because she actually went to start her companies, and she ended up doing 3 companies before she became an entrepreneur coach. She's also the high influencer on LinkedIn. So Sarah Mana talk about there are different markets. You don't necessarily have to build a unicorn, okay, which is by definition a company that has $1 billion in valuation. You can also build other ones, that are, let's say, $10 million or $15 million opportunity. Okay, there are different markets, different problems of different market sizes. But for our purpose, or I guess for YC's purpose, is we do like you to become a unicorn one day, right? Or even just with 3%, right? A 3-person unicorn. So whether your ideas potentially can grow it to a very large market, that's one question. Now there's a second question about whether you have what's called founder fit. So you might have heard of the concept product market fit, right? It's the idea that your product has matched a certain demand, product market fit. But there's also something important called founder fit, which is whether you are the right person to solve this, to do this, to build the solution, build the company, build the application. And oftentimes it's about whether you have the right domain knowledge, the experiences, or maybe it's something you have observed, right, for a long time. I'll give, I guess, my example is that part of what a sender wants to do is actually what's called sustainable wealth. One of the areas. Okay, so I see there's a hand, right? Okay, I'll let you ask. Did someone raise hand? Okay, or maybe by mistake. Okay, and one of the reason why I am interested in sustainable wealth is because personally, although I was born and raised in Taiwan, I actually went to United States, US during my secondary education. So between age 13 and 17, I actually live in Boston. And when I was in States, going to different places from New York, Boston, I saw homeless people like in really bad condition. And that just puzzled me because US is such a wealthy, powerful nation. And yet they have people even poorer than those in Taiwan, which actually surprised me. So I didn't think that it was the right thing because we are already, uh, a lot of places are developed, right? There's obviously a lot of wealth, a lot of money in the world today. But for some reason, there are still some people are in extreme poverty. So I felt that just wasn't right, right? So later I became interested in universal basic income and actually wanted to find mechanisms to help that. So hence, I actually started my second company called JCF to address this. Okay, so I guess what I like to share is that a lot of times the question, the problems you address could come from your own background, right? Come from own experience, from a pain you're experiencing yourself. And oftentimes that would be the best problem for you to tackle. Okay, the best startup ideas, right? Okay, a third criteria is called ease of execution, meaning, if it's something that requires, let's say $1 million of funding before you can even build the first prototype version, then it's probably not a good idea for you to start with. Because unless you can get the funding, you will go nowhere, right? You cannot even test your ideas. So try to think of things that you can test easily, right? I'll use Ascender as an example. Again, I mean, typically when you start accelerator, it probably requires a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of money, right? Which I don't have. Okay. But because I want to get this thing moving as fast as possible, right? As quickly, as early as possible. I want to do it now rather than 10 years later. So I sort of figure out a way to actually do it, to bootstrap it, what's called bootstrap this, right? With my own personal resource and actually have it roll out and execute, right? So you want to be able to do that as well. Remember, great entrepreneurs, they may not be someone who has a lot of resource, but they're definitely very, very resourceful. Okay, so remember that. Great entrepreneurs are people who can grow resources from nothing. Okay. You can grow, something from nothing and then grow a lot more from something. Okay, that's actually a key skill if you want to become an entrepreneur, if you want to go on to a startup journey. Okay, that's a key skill to develop. So whether the idea is easy for you to execute, to get feedback, that's also important. Now that brings us to the next, which is feedback. Can you test your ideas quick enough to get some feedback from, from the audience? Now, I would say that, again, I'll use Ascender as an example. This is the kind of feedback that we kind of are getting, right? And it's interesting that we're testing different keywords and ideas, right? So you can actually see that AI is something people definitely are very interested, followed by sustainability, right? So you can see that this is also, right? So that is a kind of a market feedback, at least for us, right? So you also want to be able to test your ideas to get feedback from your audience or your clients. All right. So our second question today is, how does your current idea evaluate in terms of the four, the criteria we talk about? Large market, does it have the potential to grow into large market? Do you have funder fit? Is it easy to execute for you? And can you get positive feedback, positive feedback about what you're doing? Okay. So I guess any questions with this, the second question? Okay, if not, then we'll give 60 seconds for everyone to journal down, all right? So 60 seconds and let's start. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So, okay, so let's move to the second. Okay, sorry, the third one. The third question we want to ask today, okay, it relates with the ideas about your future self. Okay, so this is more of a mindset question. So for this week in the 10x mindset, we talk about the kind of idea of the floor. Okay, and basically, oftentimes we set goals based on our current trajectory, right? We have our current understanding, current abilities, current experiences. So, we usually set goals based on our current self, in other words, right? We think that the future is what the current extrapolates, right, extends. However, for people who are growing 10x, they actually start from the future, right? It can be a 1 year future, it can be a 3 to 5 year future, right? And oftentimes when you're starting from the future, it's not about what you have now. It's about your imagination, right? What you think you want to become. It's not about, you know, uh, your current self. It's about actually what's the best version that you like to imagine to become your future self. And if you can look from your better of, and we encourage you to actually do a 10x version for your future self, as a filter. So if you actually start from your future self's goal and vision, and remember that your future self is not your current self, okay? If you want to understand this very easily, just look back at yourself in the last 5 years or 10 years, right? If you compare your current self with yourself 10 years ago, I'm sure it was a very different person, right? So in the next 3 to 5 years or 10 years, probably you will become, again, a very different person, right? And we'd like that person to be much better, right? So if you actually let your future self, right, your future self's goals and vision determine what you currently do, right? How would your life change? That's the question. All right. So, well, obviously, you want to clarify about what your, let's say, your 3 to 5 year future self is and what that person would do, right, compared to what you would do now. If you let that person to dictate your current direction and action, how would your current life change? All right. For this, is the question clear, or is there any question about the question?
Can you please repeat it again?
Okay. So basically, we in 10x growth, okay, you want to imagine a much better future self of yours. Okay. Let's say, you may not even know how to do that or reach there, right? Maybe because I've read some response. For example, become an AI expert, right? Already having your startup company, right? Being a founder. And some even are, imagining that they are doing, let's say, over $1 million in revenue, right? Let's say in 5 years, right? So that could be a future version of like for myself, what I like to see in 3 years, and that's actually an impossible goal. I have to be frank. Meaning that I currently don't have any ideas how I can actually get there, but I like to set that as a goal, right? For me, my 3 year future self will be incubating 10 unicorns already. Okay, so because our goal is 1,000 in 20 years, right? So in 3 years, if we can have 10, that would be actually a very good number, but that's also an impossible goal for me, right? But the question here is, if you let your future self dictate what you currently do, then you will probably have a very different approach to how you do things. For example, I actually set this goal only last quarter that I want to have 10 unicorns already incubated through Ascender in 3 years. And because of that, I realized, for example, I had to do a couple of things. One is I want to focus at a very unique pathway towards unicorn, which is the 3-person unicorn model, right? I probably want to become the expert. We want to become the expert in this space to actually have a very different model. And the second thing is we want to work with world-class partners, meaning that they may already be unicorn founders or unicorn investors, right? Or they have unicorn level thinking mindset. We want to work with these world-class partners directly. Does that make sense? Did that kind of make the question more clear to you about
Yes.
what it's trying to ask?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In other words, if you let your future self dictate what you do now, how would your actions and focus be different? Okay, compared with what you're currently doing, right? Okay. All right. So because this probably you might want to think a bit more. Okay, so I will let you answer this for 2 minutes. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's start. All right, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask one more question, okay, which is something maybe a bit, it's related, but it's kind of an extension, but maybe in a different direction, which is the concept of one thing, okay? Some of you may have heard of this, maybe not, but by the way, it's actually a book. You can just, Google One Thing, the book. It's actually a great book. The idea behind it is actually very simple. We know the idea of 80-20 rule, right? So 80-20 rule states that of all things, right? If you only do the core 20% of things, you actually produce 80% of the results. This is a natural law. Okay, for example, you have 100 friends, right? You probably only talk with 20 of them most frequently, right? You are preparing for your exam, right? Probably if you master 20% of the concepts, you can answer 80% of the questions on the exam very well. Okay, so you get the idea, right? It's called the 80-20 rule, right? This concept. Now, if let's say you have 10 things to do, right, on your to-do list, you can probably identify 2 things that will have the biggest impact. In other words, that creates 80% of the results of whatever you want to achieve, right? Now, out of those 2 things, if you again apply the 80-20 rule, then you actually will identify one thing that's going to be the most important, most crucial. Okay, so even if you just do that one thing, but really well, you may already achieve, 70 or 80% of all the results that you can possibly get. Okay, so this is the one thing concept. And there's also a related concept called the keystone goal, which is if you achieve this goal, then everything else will become easier, simpler, or irrelevant. Okay, so again, I'll share my our own example. At Ascender, right? Probably there's a lot of incubators, accelerators out there in the world, right? So why are we different, right? Obviously we're remote, which is, right, you don't have to fly to US or to Taiwan to join this, right? It's remote. But again, there's probably a lot of remote accelerators that's out there. But let's say, okay, I'm not saying we already achieved that. Let's say we become the world-class expert in terms of how to incubate 3-person unicorns, right? If that becomes our main capability and what we're best at, even world-class at, then probably that can, get everybody come to us. And we can probably support and envision and achieve everything we ever want to do, right? In terms of funding, in terms of incubation and all that. So actually, that is actually my current focus, is to study how we can actually build 3-person unicorns with, let's say, AI tools, with the right mindset, with the right mentors, right? With the right approach and strategy. We're not there yet, right? I'm also learning, I'm also exploring, but that would become kind of the one thing I want to focus most of my attention, my energy on, right? So the question here is, what single goal, if achieved, enables you to become your desired future self that you just outlined, right? I don't know what your future self is, in 3 to 5 years, for example, but what would be the single goal, if done, if achieved, that actually enables you to become your future self? Okay, so is question clear? All right, if there's any question about the question, you can ask. All right, so I'll give everybody, again, well, 90 seconds on this, okay, to think about, what's the one goal, if achieved, that actually enables you to become your future self. All right, okay, so 90 seconds, let's start. All right, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So I'd like now to invite for some shares. Okay, so remember, if you can share your answers, okay, or you can also share any insights, right, while answering these questions, okay, or any questions you have about, these questions you ask, those questions that arise, okay. All right, Rohini, go ahead, go ahead.
Hi. So I would like to start. I'll start with the first question. So the first question is about which aspect is your current idea most aligned with? So my current idea is most aligned with addressing the mental health challenges faced by college students. It focuses on providing accessible support, fostering emotional well-being, and leveraging technology to create a comprehensive solution for a clear and healthy mind. So that is my current idea. So the second question is current idea.
Oh, yeah, so sorry, which is that, does that fall into the difficult, boring, or crowded?
So can
How does
you
it rate? Yeah.
so can you please repeat your question?
I mean, is your idea in the difficult category? Is it difficult? Or is it boring? Or is it
No,
crowded?
okay, you're asking me to like categorize my idea
Yeah, yeah,
into
yeah. I mean,
these.
or rate it, or maybe rate it. Let's say 1 to 5, right? Try to
Oh,
rate that.
I would definitely give a 5 because right now mental health, just the sector, it's very booming and very demanding. So by going through the medical reports, we see a seven figure, like say all 7 to 8 figure. So yeah, definitely that is something very important. So the second question is, the current idea can evaluate to the how my current idea can evaluate to the potential very large market. And my idea targets a very large market, as mental health is a universal concern, especially among students, college students and young adults who are working right now, who just started their corporate jobs. So, with the growing awareness and demand for accessible mental health solutions, it has potential to scale significantly in the future.
Okay.
The third question is, if your future self will dictate what you do now, and how would your actions and focus will be different compared to now. So, if my future self were like guiding me, I would focus on thinking bigger and acting bolder. Instead of just refining basic features, I would dive into understanding user behavior and creating a product that feels indispensable. So, I would invest more time in building a strong network, collaborating with experts, and exploring global markets early on. So the focus wouldn't just be on what I'm doing now, but on setting systems and a vision that ensure that my startup can thrive and scale effortlessly in the future. So the last question that we have is, what single goal, if achieved, that enables to become your future self? Uh, Definitely developing a mindset and a skill set that allows me to solve complex problems at scale would be the single goal that enables me to become my future self. It's all about mastering the ability to innovate, lead, and also to adapt in many ways, where you can create a meaningful impact in whatever I pursue.
Okay, excellent, excellent. All right. So
Thank
we like this to be, yeah, thanks for sharing first, Rahini. We like also to be, kind of a collective wisdom. Okay, so the idea of mastermind is not just your brain or my brain, it's everybody's brain here. Okay, this is why it's called mastermind. When we have common goals, similar values, right? We are open-minded, give each other support, right? We like to understand, then that actually creates a different mind, a bigger mind, so to speak. Okay. So I like to invite everybody here, if you have any feedback or questions, right, for Rohini, feel free to feedback or raise your hand, or unmute yourself. So is there any feedback or questions for Rohini, given what she just shared? Maybe it's a question, maybe it's a suggestion, maybe it's someone you know that Rohini might want to check out. Okay, yeah. Again, don't be shy, okay? Because this is how you can actually get the best, best value and best results from this. Okay, so Rohini, I do have something kind of curious, okay? You want to do mental health, right? But why is that? Why, I mean, maybe this relates to the first question. Sorry, I think maybe it was the first or the second question about founder fit. Okay. I mean, this potentially is a great problem, right, to address. But why you? Why you? Why you are uniquely suited for this, right?
Yes, sir. So mainly because I've been a victim to this, and I've seen many of my very close friends and family suffer. So it led me to question that, do we have the services that we need to cope up with this, and at this moment we really don't have. So why not wait till someone gets started? Why not I take the initiative and work on this? So from there, my journey has began, and I'm planning to make this a like compulsory in all every college, because definitely many thousands of college students face this. So I hope each and every college will actually provide services to their students. So I'm working on that.
Wow, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, all right. I think that's great. That's great. Um, I mean, actually, I think you have a very great topic, and because you know the pain, right? You actually know the problem yourself personally. So I think that's actually often one of the best, best topics you can do. Yeah. All right. So I guess, do you have any questions you want to ask alone while you were answering these questions? Were there any question that pop in your head or in your mind that you'd like to ask? Maybe not just me, but to the group as well. Any questions kind of you're wondering or curious you'd like to ask?
Sir, I do have a question actually.
Hmm.
So what if there's going to be many what ifs during your whole journey? Even though you kickstart your company, it's doing well, but still you have many what ifs, right? So what if I do start my own company, and it's been a couple of months, but still, nothing comes quickly, right? You have to work for it. Some things are gonna take time. But what if you have like a goal, in a year I'm gonna get these many customers, I'm gonna partner up with these many colleges. But sometimes when you don't reach, it's just a lot in your lot in your brain. So in a lot, it's gonna like make you take very harsh decisions. So what to do with that, how to like cope up with that? And also, um, what do you think from your point of view? Do you think that when you start a business, it need to run well in the first couple of months, or is it going to take some time? Do you have to wait, since you have like many years of experience? So I do like, what's your answer to this, sir?
Okay, okay. I think your question is about, so what I heard is that it seems like you're asking a question of how do you start? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
kind of the
Yes,
question?
yes,
Okay. And what especially what's the most important things, let's say in the first couple of months, right?
yes, sir.
Which could be your current stage. Is that right? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, all right. Well, my answer, okay, and I hope this is helpful for everybody here, okay, because maybe you're not asking the questions, but the answers could be relevant to you guys as well, okay? So I'm actually going to quote YC. Okay, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot because this is actually YC's best knowledge and their experiences, which is you want to spend 80% of your time, one, talking to your clients, your customer, your audience, and second, fix and build your product. Okay, this should occupy 80 to 90% of your time and energy. Okay, pretty much everything else, networking, showcase, publicity, fundraising, those actually are not the most important things, especially in early stage. Okay, so I would say actually understanding what the true problem is that you're trying to solve is the most critical at the earliest stage, right? You want to kind of understand, like, what is your ideal audience, okay, and what is exactly what they're paying, and that person could be you, which is the best, like Steve Jobs, for example. He was building Apple products for himself, literally. Okay, so he was the client. So he knew what the product should look like because he was the client. Okay, he doesn't have to do any market survey, or kind of focus group study, because he was the client. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, so I think understanding really well what the problem is, okay, is one thing. The other thing is, how can you build a prototype as quickly as possible? A proof of concept. Something, it may not be even an app or a system. It could be maybe a survey or even something on paper, but something that actually can gauge feedback. Okay, you want to start to build experiments that you put to the world, right? And to get some feedback. Whether it's positive, it's negative, it's all fine. People care, people don't care, it's all fine. But you have to put something out to get some feedback, so you can understand better what exactly is the problem that you're addressing and how to iterate over that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's a great question. All right. So, hope that helps. All right, hope that helps. And I'd like to invite maybe one more. Okay. Anyone would like to share your answers or maybe your questions? Okay. I actually got a private message from someone. Can I say your name? Okay. All right. So Ria, okay, Ria actually wrote a message to me that she said that very introverted. Okay. So she's sharing that a goal for future self is to master DSA. I don't know what DSA is. You might have to explain a bit. And development. Okay, so working on the machine side by side and get placed in the MNC. Again, I don't know what MNC is. Yeah, maybe it
Actually,
helps if,
so
yeah, go ahead, go
data
ahead.
structure and algorithm is DSA, and during the machine learning, we need to learn coding, and web development is important for that thing.
Okay, I see. Okay, all right. Data structure.
Yes.
Okay, I see. All right. Sorry about I have little knowledge on this. All right, great. Okay, so that is your future self. Now, I'm actually more curious about, for example, if that's your future self, then if you look from your future self perspective, which is our third question, right? If you let your future self decide your current actions as opposed to your present self, what would be different? So in other words, what was your answer for the third question? How would you act differently if you let your future self decide what to do? Can you maybe share that, Ria?
So can you repeat the question again, please?
Okay. You already outlined who your future self is, right? Okay, someone who mastered DSA, data structure and algorithm, and also get
Yes,
placed in
sir.
MNC, right? If that's your future self, how many years is that? Is that 3 years or 1 year?
Sir, I guess 3 years.
Okay, all right. If that's your 3 year future self, right? Okay, then how would you actually act differently from your future self? And actually, I would even ask. Okay, yeah. Please answer that question. Yeah, just curious. What would you
So
act
like I have
differently?
more
Yeah.
skills,
Hmm.
like I have more skills right now at that time. For example, now I know very few languages, like I know Python, I know Java, but during machine learning, like after completing or after studying that, I will able to know more about the languages, more about technologies, everything in the market at that time. So I guess it will be
Okay.
better for me.
Okay, I see. Okay, so actually the question here, and I like every one of you to also understand the reason, logic behind the question, okay, is that oftentimes we do certain things. For example, today after you wake up, you probably did something, right? And during today, you also did certain things, right? Or for example, right now you're joining into the coaching program, right? All these actions and behaviors, there's a reason behind why you're doing this, right? There's probably a goal, there's probably an intention, right, that you're doing. Now, I like to say that everything you do pretty much is the result of your current self's decision and actions, right? Based on your current understanding, your current knowledge, your current aspirations, right, Ria? Would that be a
Yes,
right
sir.
statement? Yes. So the third question actually is ask, what if you are not your current self? You are already your future self. You know, someone who has mastered DSA, someone who is already placed in MNC. That's already, if you are already your future self, how would your actions, let's say today, how would that be different? How would you act differently? Does that make sense? I mean,
Yes, sir.
okay, do you understand the question better now? Yeah. So I guess, what if you're already your future self? How would you do differently from what you're currently doing?
So, like for example, today I joined this coaching. Today is my day one, and I joined. Like, I will get to know about artificial intelligence. I will get to know more about the coaching, how to be an proper entrepreneur, how to find co-founders as you begin with that topic. So it will help me in the future, like to know more about the world, to know about everyone. Like everyone said that she is reading this book, she is doing this, and Rohini has said that she is focusing on mental health as she suffered from this or she knows better about this topic. So, sir, she has knowledge about this topic. Maybe I have knowledge about another topic. You have knowledge about another topic, and we are all are together here. And I guess we will learn from experience or by sharing each other things.
Okay, great. All right. I like to clarify a bit about my question though, which is, you already have a picture about what your 3-year future self looks like, right? Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yeah, okay. The question here is, assuming you are already your future self, okay, just
Yes.
imagine you're already a
Yes,
master
yes.
at DSA, you're placed in MNC, right? You are already that state, you're already being your future self. How would you do and act differently now compared to
Sir, I
your,
will try
yeah.
to reach on the better position then.
Okay. So you probably would reach out for a better position, right? In terms of, I don't know, your career, your job, your internship, is that right?
Sir, in about the career as well as in personal life also, like growth about health. I'll be focusing on my health then career.
Okay,
Like
that's great. Okay. So you talk about you might put the more emphasis on your health if you're already that future self, right? Is that right?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So, okay, great. All right. So this is why we're asking this question, okay? And this is something to recommend and to encourage everyone to actually do and explore and execute, is that try to be bold and act as if you're already your future self. All right? In other words, if your
Yes.
future self in 3 years will have a higher priority about health, right, than your current self, then try to act like that now.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
That's why this question was being asked. Okay.
Okay.
Because your behavior will be different if you actually already think and act as your future self. Now, there's a saying from Dr. Ben Hardy, okay, which is, I think, something really interesting. It's much better to fail, fail as your future self than to succeed as your present self. Okay, so think about this, okay? We probably have a much bigger, better future self, right? Let's say 3 or 5 years later, right? So that person is probably more powerful, more knowledgeable, hopefully more also wealthier, right? With more money, more time, right? More friendship, right? More connections, more wisdom, right? So it's actually, but if you were to do whatever your future self is doing, you probably will fail at that simply because you don't have the experience, the scale, right now, right? But even so, it's still much better to fail as your future self than to succeed as your present self. Okay, Ria, you
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
make sense? Okay, okay. And the reason is simple, because when you try to act as your future self, even if you can only do that, let's say out of 24 hours a day, you can only do that for 5 minutes. Okay, but because you're doing that, you might able to increase that time from 5 to 10 to 15 minutes to an hour, right? And when it becomes 24 hours, you become your future self. All right, but you will not improve unless and until you start to practice. Okay, so maybe some of you have the idea of having a company, right? Someday, right? Or become an entrepreneur, or maybe millions of dollars in revenue or profit, right? Or earnings, whatever, right? That's your future self. But if you can already find ways to act as your future self right now, even if you fail, you are already doing much better than simply acting as your current or present self. Okay? Ria, is that okay?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, so that would be a encouragement and also a challenge. I love to hear what you are doing, next week. Okay. If you start to adopt and act this way, right? In your daily goals, in your daily actions or behaviors, right? All right. So I think that's pretty much I guess, the share for this week's content. And I'd like to remind everyone, our course, again, I'm going to share my screen about this design of the structure, is that this is designed to be really lightweight. Okay, there's only about a 6-minute video daily, so only have to spend 15 to 30 minutes, watch the video, answer the question. I don't encourage you to skip or jump ahead, right? You can just take your but obviously, if you really are in a mood of learning, okay, then you might want to finish. But I encourage you to take the tempo. If you have extra time, go see the original YC materials, okay, at Startup School, which is, everybody can go to Startup School, Y Combinator here, and register an account. Okay. So actually, let me just go to my Startup School. Yeah, that's the yeah, so you can watch the YouTube there, okay, in full, if you do have time. What the and actually will be released this week's just like last week, weekly assignment. So do submit your assignments. Okay, this is important to both keep track of your progress, to unlock the next week's module, but also to help you to move forward, okay, towards completion the coaching and get your certificate at the end if that's something you like to get. Okay. All right. So I think with the final time, I like to open for Q&A. Okay. By the way, this is Startup School. Okay. So you can see that there's 8 modules here. We're actually right now already onto the second module, week 2. Okay. Our structure is designed so every month we will go through 3 modules plus a review week. Okay. So 4, 5, 6 will be next month. 7, 8 will be the third month, and we will actually have what's called a demo day at the third month. So every one of you will, form team or, have your own ideas about how to build a startup, right? And present whatever accomplishment you have done during this 3 months at our demo day. Okay, so that's going to be exciting and interesting. So you can also, I'd encourage you to start to think about the demo day, right? because that's going to happen in March. And you can backtrack from there to see what would you like to start to do and prepare for your demo day. All right. Okay, so I guess any questions you'd like to ask? It can be either about today's coaching or I guess in general, about the accelerator, anything.
No, sir.
Okay, no questions. Okay, all right. Then I do have questions for you guys. Okay. Which is, I actually would like to know. Okay, all right. I hope you're having fun and also learning things. My question to you is, how many of you are really seriously thinking about, become an entrepreneur or do a startup, sometime in the future? Okay, can I see a raise of hands? Okay, we have 3. Okay, all right. So I'm assuming the others are interested, okay, in terms of, I guess, learning more or maybe on self-improvement, okay, which is also fine, all right? So I guess the next question I'd like to ask is, you know, out of, okay, interested but in the future, okay, all right. Part of what I want to do is to encourage and maybe inspire you so that maybe halfway through this course, you are already thinking about doing your startup. Okay, that would be my goal and challenge and task. Okay, all right. Now, I guess I also would like to, learn more about you. How many of you currently are in undergrad? Okay, so university level. Okay, 3, right? Okay, all right, 4. Okay, all right. So any one of you is already at graduate level, grad student? No? Okay, nobody's from grad school? Okay, good. How many of you plan to go on to grad school? You can also raise your hand. No? Okay, all right. That's great. That's great. Okay. I actually got a PhD, but one thing I can tell you is that if I did not take the PhD, I'm sure my entrepreneur journey will be a lot farther ahead. Okay. Oh, Rohini. Okay. You're thinking about grad school. Okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. A lot of I think the startups now, okay, will actually be very knowledge intensive. Okay, you may have to possess a certain deep domain knowledge to do that. But obviously, it's not really required. Okay, a lot of the great entrepreneurs, they don't really have a lot of formal education, but they are all excellent self-taught learners. Okay, all right. All right, so I think we can wrap up, but I also like you guys to maybe do some peer sharing. Okay, so I will ask you to spend 1 minute, okay, to basically write down whatever basically a summary of what you have learned. What's the biggest learning takeaway from today, and also one action that you like to take, afterwards or during this week. Okay, so one biggest learning and also one action. And I'm going to share this, in the chat. So I'd like everyone to fill this out now. Okay, I will time for 1 minute. Okay. All right, so do spend 1 minute to write down what's your biggest learning takeaway today and also one action that you want to take. Okay, all right, let's start. Okay, 10 more seconds. Okay, all right. So what I'll do is I'd like to group you guys into groups of 3. Okay, and you can each take turns share about what's your biggest learning takeaway and also action moving forward, but only 1 minute for each person. Okay, and if you are in a group where nobody talks to you, feel free to leave and join back to the main group. Okay, so I'm going to basically do a random assignment. Okay, to into groups of right now we have 2, 4, okay, 9 people. Okay, so probably 3 groups. Okay, just 3 groups. All right, so let's start, and I will prompt you to change, and afterwards we will come back, and then you can share someone else's answer if you think it's great. Okay, all right, so go ahead, join the room. Okay, and share your answers about what's the biggest learning and what's your action. Okay, yeah, you should be able to join now. So in this room we have, are you guys still here? If you are here, then maybe you can share what's your biggest learning and also action. So Deepika, would you like to start? Okay. Or is this Biri? Biri? Would you like to start? What's your biggest learning and takeaway from today? Okay. Yes. Would you like to share what's your biggest learning from today? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What's your biggest takeaway and also action? One action you like to do afterward.
So, biggest takeaway from today's class, setting up a goal for my future self.
Okay. Okay. So you have learned or think about your future self. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. And what's one action you like to do afterwards?
Uh, so, learning to achieve that goal and
Learning to what?
learning to achieve that
Oh,
goal.
okay. Okay. So you want to learn to achieve your goal. All right. So what is your goal? What is your goal though?
Sir, to create a solution, an AI solution for the social well-being.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Great. So you want to create an AI solution for social well-being. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's great. All right. Okay. All right. So I think we also have Ria here. So Ria, would you like to share what's your biggest takeaway and and what's action forward? Ria, would you like to share yours?
Sir, actually, I got disconnected. I just joined the meeting
Ah,
again.
okay. Okay. No worries. We're just wrapping up. Okay. So, okay. Okay, so we're just asking everyone to just write down and now share what is your biggest learning from today and what is one action you like to do afterwards.
Sir, I guess I need 1 minute to think about this.
Okay, all right, sure, all right. So take your minute, take your minute. Okay, so we will actually, people should be coming back now. So we has our, Deepika, are you able to share? Or Biri, Biri Deepak? Oh, okay. Someone asked me to send again. That would be the form. Okay, so Ria, have you thought about what's the biggest takeaway for you today? And also action, one action forward. Oh, okay, I see. You're grateful. That's your biggest takeaway and interact more. Okay, great. Okay, thanks. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So actually, I like to invite, okay, you may have your own answer. Okay, you can share yours, or if you have heard someone else has shared a great answer and you'd like to share on his or her behalf, that's also great. Okay, so would anyone like to share what's the biggest takeaway and action forward? Okay. I'm inviting. Okay, anyone would like to share? What was your today's biggest takeaway? And also, what's your one action moving forward? Okay, Sanya, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I think one takeaway that I had was the importance of evaluating the idea
Mhm.
and how important it is to get feedback and
Okay.
opinions of the people who might be using it, audience. And so, yeah, I think one thing I'll do in the future is probably make a survey and talk to a lot of people, talk to my audience about what they would want and what would work for them. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay, great, fantastic. All right, okay. There's actually going to be subsequent modules about user interviews. Okay, so you might want to pay particular attention to those. Okay, at the when they come up. All right, anyone else would like to share? Okay, I think you. Okay, all right, Rohini, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, Rohini, you'd like to share what is your biggest takeaway from today and what is your action?
Yes, sir. So the takeaway is it is very key important to like align my idea with a potential large market potential and ensuring positive feedback are very important for they are a key to long term success and action forward focusing on like gathering feedback and refining my idea to scale effectively in the market.
Okay, okay, excellent, excellent. All right, okay. So that definitely, I think getting feedback can also shape it. And you talk about an important word, which is refinement. I think refining is also super important. Okay, because out of anything you do, you can always get to a deeper level at the core, the more essential things, okay, the 20%. So you want to pay attention to those, the signal versus the noise. All right, so anyone else would like to share what's your biggest takeaway and learning and action forward? Anyone else? Okay, all right. So I think that's fine too, okay? All right, so is there any last minute questions you'd like to ask? Whether of today's materials, the coaching or maybe the Ascender program, any questions?
Nothing, sir. We will look
Okay,
forward.
okay, all right, okay. So if not, then, please continue, okay? I would encourage you to make it a habit, okay, to learn this at your own pace, okay? So, after you can actually digest things in small bits, so it's easily digest and also actionable, right? Learn and do has to happen concurrently. That's the best way to learn. All right. Okay. All right. So please do submit your weekly assignments. Okay. Those actually they will not be, they will not be actually graded in a sense of we're not going to say whether it's good or bad. If you submit, that's good. Okay. But this is important as accountability. The idea is that so you are doing the work continuously and it builds up. Okay. So this is to help you to move forward and gain accountability. All right. Okay, and also clarity when you try to answer those questions. Okay, so fantastic. And I definitely look forward to seeing you guys. And remember, I like to keep this one more thing in your mind, is that when you are embarking on a 10x journey, like the one we're taking now, meaning that you may focus deeper into your 20%, okay, and then, letting go of maybe 80% of the noise, then you might actually have more progress within the next week or even next day than all the previous days combined. Okay, think about that. Okay, but that is actually a very true statement. So in other words, the next week, potentially you might have more progress than, let's say, the last months or so, or maybe the last even quarter, or even last year, which is highly likely. Okay, so try to look for those opportunities as well and act upon it. Okay, so I look forward to hear your 10x growth and results next week. All right, okay, so take care and have a great weekend. All right, okay, so take care. Yeah,
Thank you,
bye bye.
sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. Bye bye. Yeah, thanks. Bye.